Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Shadowverse. So, I'm still not 100% sure that Fortune's Hand isn't a tie-in to an anime, but from what it seems like for their 4th year anniversary they've just made cards that are loosely based on the tarot cards. But this really is weird that you would have a logo here that is like 2, 3, 4 times bigger than Shadowverse's own logo. Although it would be kind of interesting if perhaps they're trying to spin off the Shadowverse universe. I mean, you could potentially have a collectible card game that had a rotation of an older card game's cards in it, if they were fairly consistent in their mechanics and rules. Although, I don't know why you would do that other than just to get rid of old cards. But they already have rotation, so I don't know a reason why you'd want to do that. These missions are kind of driving me crazy, the daily missions themselves. Like, I'm not sure temporary gems are really worth anything at all, and trying to play get an extra 3 victories in ranked, unranked arena is something that's pretty extreme. I'm hoping that what happens is we stop getting a daily mission to win temporary gems and we start getting daily missions to win something else. I don't even care if it's win 10 rupees for winning 3 matches. Although that probably would be closer to 20 rupees. I did finish the chapter with Urias. Not a lot to really report there. His gameplay style does kind of just fall into what you would expect, in the fact that you often sacrifice a lot of your life and put yourself in a dangerous position to then get a big boost to then come from behind and win. There was something else that occurred to me. Yeah, one of the daily quests, if you allow it to give you solo daily missions, it will tell you to win like 3 victories in 3 or 1 victories in solo mode, which means you can do that first tutorial match where it literally tells you what to do and it's only 2 turns to win. So getting the daily solo missions probably is a great deal compared to anything else, although it probably doesn't reward you as well, because you don't even really have to try, which at a certain point I think a lot of free-to-play games and collectible card games, but just free-to-play games in general, should probably have some daily missions that are just really login bonuses. There are also login bonuses that are happening here, but I could see myself easily becoming too busy in my own mind to actually do any daily quests and just logging into a game for like 6 months, and then after 6 months of barely playing the game and getting the daily login rewards, eventually just asking myself why am I even bothering to log into the game at that point. Let's start with Eris's chapter. Once the number on the countdown amulets reaches 0, the amulet is destroyed. Some countdown amulets summon powerful followers, others have different effects. Countdown amulets can speed up or destroy other cards. That's a weird focus for Havencraft. That's not really what I was expecting, is that they would just have a ton of amulets. And so she starts not at the Morning Star. And our first chapter is second perspective. I can also tell you that the downloads seem to be deleted after you beat the final level for the voice things, so you don't have potentially a gig. I would imagine in all of the chapters it really would only be about a gig worth of voice files and animations, but they seem to just automatically delete this. Eris has lost her memories and is seeking liberation from the cruelty of the world. So this is going to be weird if we play as like a shade version of Eris who's lost their memories, or if the bad Eris has stolen all the memories from the good Eris. But it would also be weird if we play as the bad Eris. So there's kind of no good point in this storytelling where this is going to work.
Where am I?
Priestess, are you all right?
It would be better.
What is this place?
You can't be serious.
She doesn't even recognize her own home.
We don't even see anything.
I'm sorry. I can't remember anything. The other priests and priestesses have been nothing but kind to me since I lost my memory. They have endured the great burden that is me, and for that I am truly grateful. I hope I can regain my memory soon and be of more use.
See, this would be interesting if this was actually a conspiracy and the priest and priestess like created her
sadness. There must be
out of
some
magic
connection between it and the morning star. If only I could do more to help the people.
And there's just a shade
Hello, can I help you?
appearing
I
right
hope
in front
this
of her.
creature isn't as unfriendly as it seems. My head feels strange, hazy. Wait! I mean no harm to you.
Yeah, the way you'd want to tell a story like this, since you kind of know that Eris has to be the bad guy in all the other stories, would be to tell the prequel story of how Eris started off good and ended up corrupting her own good intentions, or having her own good intentions corrupted, moving her into being the bad guy, and then having her basically in her story completely skip the events of all of the other that occur that we've seen multiple times with all the other characters, and then have them catch up at like a later time, or maybe you tell the story after skipping the middle part and have a redemption arc at that point. So she's just gonna fight a shade.
Is fighting and despair all you know?
So yeah, if you need 3 wins here, and I believe I do have a daily quest where I need 3 wins here, you could just play this tutorial mode over and over again. In Havencraft there are many countdown amulets that also have last words. Once the countdown reaches 0, the amulet is destroyed and last words effects are activated. Last words are not unique to Havencraft. And seemingly clicking this shows a bunch of the icons over the card, but none that actually I think even have countdown in this case. Countdown the 2. Beastly Vow is a countdown amulet. The countdown decreases by 1 at the start of your turn. Countdown amulets also not consistently unique to Havencraft. It kind of leaves Havencraft not having a unique ability, where you would imagine that Revive or Rebirth might be a Havencraft unique ability where each card like has a chance of resummoning itself as a last word ability, because well, in Christianity resurrection is a major focus, and I think that's true for lots of religions, that there's some form of rebirth often talked about. Or you could give her a special ability where she has like unique buffs when fighting against bloodcraft or skeletons or like even dragons. She could just have an extra buff against almost any monster at all. Some cards also have also lower the countdown. Great Priestess is one such card. Try playing it now. So this might be unique to have creatures that lower the countdown number. Beastly Vows last word effect brought a Holy Flame Tiger into play. Evolve the Holy Flame Tiger and attack the enemy Angelic Sword Maiden. You could also have the Havencraft characters having a specific like larger amount of defense on average. Just by one would actually work fairly well. There really is no tank character from what I can tell, so a tank character in the Havencraft field would work fine. Or they could have like a healing ability, focus on that too. The idea of just a countdown though seems fairly too simplistic. Blackened Scripture is a card that will banish an enemy follower. Try it on Bellringer Angel. And for a tutorial fight, this is fairly longer than the others. Bellringer Angel has been banished. Last word abilities do not activate for banished followers. That's good to know. I didn't know that. Use your Greater Priestess to attack the enemy leader.
Witness the power of prayer.
They could also have a focus on characters potentially being stronger the more allies that are on field, or a faith metric. Let's see. But nope. Havencraft's true strength lies in last word abilities of its many countdown amulets. Greater Priestess is now yours. Add it to your deck and play a story match. We'll skip the rest of the battles and see if anything.
Did I do something to provoke it?
If anything really appears.
What's happening?
I just need to clear my head.
Dear child, word of your undertakings has reached me. The deeds you try to accomplish, they defy nature's order.
So apparently,
I don't believe we've met.
Apparently this scene happened in the past.
You should let go of your despair before it consumes you. What was that?
See, this is going to be weird if it turns out this is all the redemption arc.
I must hurry back to the
and
secret hall.
Like all the events we've seen up until this point are just going to be flashbacks. Also, when she had her hand over her eye, it looked like she had a blue pupil instead of more of a pinkish pupil. I think it looked that way. As if they just kind of animated it wrong. Yeah, she does have a blue pupil.
That was faster than expected.
So there's a pink eyes and blue eyes.
I remembered something and I rushed back here. No, we didn't. For a brief moment, you and I were reunited and we saw as one. What do you mean?
So it wasn't a mistake.
And why do you look like me? You and I are the same. We are Eris Anthul.
First time we've gotten the last name, not that that matters.
Excuse me?
I'm alone.
The woman I saw. Why are you attacking me? This is the sacred hall.
And yeah, we're getting like no explanation. And you'd think if there was going to be anybody that would actually explain it, Eris would explain it to herself. And I imagine we may very well end up just finding shade versions of all over the leaders.
A reflection of that woman's innermost sorrow. A mere fragment of the overflowing sorrow that is devouring this world. It is our wish to liberate the people of this world from this despair and anguish that plagues them. It is true I am troubled by the sorrows I have seen. But how do I know if what you're saying is the truth? What if you're one of those creatures? You and I are two parts of a whole. I don't understand.
Nor do I.
Just know that we move ever closer to our destination. The morning star guides us. There, we will see our wish fulfilled. She disappeared.
And she apparently has the ability to teleport where the regular
I
Eris
must talk to the imposter more.
doesn't have
Only
the ability
then will
to
we uncover
teleport.
the truth.
Now it's labeled Alpha and Omega, as if one of them was the beginning and one of them is the end of the story. But there's a major danger here that they will just drag us along as without really giving us more than just a small drip feed of plot development.
The morning star is my only clue, but it seems so dangerous.
I don't really see a reason to do this in a collectible card game at all. The first chapter in itself should have basically a full story, and then you could just say, well, the first chapter is the only chapter, and we just put it to let people learn the card game, and then if at some point they figure out that they can tell an interesting story, then they could add a second chapter. Yeah, they really seem to have done something in making these main story chapters without really thinking about should they have done something or having an actual story to tell in the first place.
But I can't believe that her way to happiness is right.
Yeah, if I was going to try and write the story for a video game, her eye does turn blue.
Allow me to answer.
If I was going to try to write the story of a video game, I would have to think really long and hard about sketching out an outline and figuring out what I want to actually say, what story I want to have come out, and how I want people to feel about that story before I even start to write the first sentence. I wouldn't come from a perspective of saying, well, I just need to say something to keep people busy and keep people interested. Now, as a video game critic, sometimes I do have kind of nothing to say, and so I'll be a little bit more quieter when playing a game. But I do try to have some kind of response or reaction to everything I see. Looks like she might actually fight Luna. Or Luna's Shade.
No, please. We don't have to fight.
As far as we can tell, these shades are just mindless beasts.
This is too much. Mother.
And look, there was no attack action on the child depiction. No slash, as if you were actually hitting her.
How
Again,
could she do this to someone so innocent?
a problem definitely with having one of the leaders being a young child.
I must stop her before it is too late.
Or if you wanted to keep Luna the same age, you probably could do it better if you made her look absolutely just evil from the first look. Like, have her soaked in blood, holding a giant weapon, crazy eyes. Like, if that was the perspective you were always showing, and you tried to have absolutely nobody relate with her, then maybe then it would be alright for people to fight them. But still, you probably would have to have some excuse to explain it away.
We know what needs to be done.
I guess this story does go to prove that Eris, the bad Eris, really is targeting just these 7 leaders.
Soul of despair. The way has been shown to us. What do you mean we? I am not you, and you are not me.
If you look at the number of dots on the staff there, it is 10 dots that are actually visible, not 8 even, because there's 2 in the middle horizontally. So as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if it was an idea that there needed to be 10 people brought together in total to activate the Morning Star, and you had to capture them and drain them of energy or something, that doesn't happen really. At best, there are 9 people if you count the evil Eris and the good Eris separately. And Lotharia, which would, I guess at that point, bring it up to 10.
Princess, together with the princess.
And this time it seems like she attacked first. And then that time they didn't show the attack animation either.
We asked for this. We wished for the Morning Star to appear.
Yeah.
But I don't even know what the Morning Star is. It is a doorway that will liberate the world from despair. Nothing can open it but the shadows that lie in the depths of mortal hearts.
If there was ever a magical device like the Morning Star that could be summoned or called by a single person, almost every fantasy world would have been destroyed early in its development.
And this world will meet its end. The world will end and dreams will become reality? Do you truly believe this? It is what we believe. We have longed for liberation and labored tirelessly to bring it about. I had nothing to do with this. I wouldn't. You and I are the same. All will be made clear soon. Liberation approaches.
The way this story is being told, it feels like if the bad Eris and the good Eris got merged together, what would be left would be something more of a bad Eris than a good Eris.
I just wish I could understand.
And see, if she was, again, like Balthazar's daughter, and she didn't remember, and she was like sacrificed in some way to a life of being a priestess instead of being a princess to lock away the vampire, then maybe the story would make some sense, that I could understand her having this kind of bitterness or just weird way of thinking, corrupted way of thinking. But I don't have any faith that the writers are going to actually be able to combine any of the characters' stories at all, at least in the first chapter. And it's really going to be a stretch even in the conclusion chapter to see how they could merge all these stories together and show that each of these characters are like somehow fated or destined to work together. It would be kind of funny to tell a story like this and have 8 heroes, and the only thing that connected them was that there was like a great warrior 100 years ago that traveled the world and sired many grandchildren, and so everybody is like related as cousins or as unknown brothers and sisters, perhaps, instead of grandchildren. And that they all have like magical blood running through them, but that wouldn't really accomplish much to have a story like that, other than to tell the funny tale of a great warrior who ran around sleeping with a bunch of people.
She said that this is what I had asked for, but I would never, would I? I want peace, happiness, not this. We are not the same.
There is some truth to the idea. If you truly want peace, then you really do have to kind of stop all human life from happening. Like, without conflict, there is no motivating factor to grow mentally, physically, or any other way. There will just be no evolution of thought, no evolution of life, of DNA, of anything. So, like, life as it exists in every form that has ever been depicted to me has always had to been a balance between some peace, or times of peace, and then times of well, lack of peace, conflict, times of maybe even chaos.
Only time remains.
Only if you like buy into the idea of Buddhism does peace and internal mental growth become more important than everything else.
I have to figure out how to stop
and
this.
If everybody became a Buddhist monk, I think they're mostly celibate, so that wouldn't work for more than one generation. I guess it would be interesting, more interesting for Eris to defeat the bad Eris and say, I'm the true Eris, you're nothing but a fake.
It feels familiar, but I just can't quite remember why. Someone's being attacked.
Now, look at the symbol here. Instead of the symbol in her cross. It's totally a different symbol. It's somewhat similar, but it's not quite.
Back? Has she met her? We've got to fight them together.
So there might be an argument that if you went back and watched the story of everybody else, you could see whether she has pink eyes or red eyes when you're talking to her. But I think it doesn't really matter, because I think for the most part this is the only time that the good Eris actually comes in contact with any of the other heroes. It's not like there's any big revelation there.
You always have perfect timing. Excuse me? I said you always have perfect timing. I'm sorry, but I think you're mistaking me for someone else. Have we met before? Are you okay, Eris? We were just talking to each other. She has met her. You must have met my sister. I didn't know Eris had a sister. You look just like her. You could almost be the same person. The same person? That's what she keeps saying. No, we're not the same. I am not her.
Yeah, I could understand her being a little bit emotional, but
Am I wrong?
we need more character development in this.
Nothing makes sense to me anymore. I can't trust anyone, not even myself.
You know, something like this kind of makes a good argument for the visual novels out there that have like 80,000 words in them. Like, maybe it really does just take 200 plus hours to get a good story and a lot of development. The old adage, a picture is worth 1,000 words, might very well be the case. And once again, this little gym in the middle kind of looks like it might, like, if this point is supposed to be this point, and then there's a dot here, which could be this dot if it was turned sideways, but no, there's, it doesn't quite match. And then when you see the Shadowverse logo in other places, it doesn't quite match either. So there's just some weirdness with it, to say the least. It'll be interesting if something different happens besides her being captured in the Morningstar, because it almost feels like she's already been captured in the Morningstar once.
My vision ahead feels clouded. We have reached our destination.
It's a little surprising that neither one of them have really been able to control the other.
Liberation from despair is here. Are you ready? This is not the way. Dreams are not reality. This was our desire, and it is soon to be fulfilled.
You could potentially set the entire story as her dream, as like maybe even a prophetic dream that could then reboot the story in chapter 3 and have her travel around and gather the other leaders together as a team. Although I don't see a reason why you really would bother to toss out the events, because there's nothing too terrible that has happened in the other stories. If anything, there's just nothing has happened at all.
It is time for us to reunite, to move and think as one again.
I think the bad Eris probably would probably be more successful if she was merged to a human being.
At last we remember.
So they do merge together.
We have always wished to free the world from the sorrows that consume it.
And so we have Blue Eyes. So why is the door opening though? Because them showing this animation yet again for the 7th time really only then implies that Eris also gets trapped in the Morningstar.
I bring unto the world harmony.
And Nexus seems like she just cannot leave the...
I am Nexus.
She
that is my
cannot
name.
just leave the Morningstar area.
Harmony. The Infinity Gate hath opened. Offer up thy woes, and the light shall be as thine eyes and thy flesh.
Yeah. And we're moving about at the same pace, because it's been about 35 minutes.
This moment is the fruit of our labor.
Fear not. On the other side, all pain is forgotten.
Seems like Nexus
Liberation is at hand.
doesn't seem like she really works with Eris at all. Seems like Eris thinks she works with Nexus, but Nexus doesn't care. yeah, that was 8 chapters of absolute nothing. And probably so because they didn't want you to run into a situation.
We are prepared to liberate the world from the sorrows that engulf it.
She didn't want to run it. You probably didn't want a situation where somebody accidentally plays this first.
Keeper of the dream of serenity.
She actually talks to Nexus, though.
I am the keeper. This power and this glory.
Thou art as one, and thou art as all. Guide now the lost streamers with thy staff.
Yes, Almighty One. I will guide them faithfully.
It seems like her voice changed yet once again.
The world shall turn to light withal and be liberated.
Let us begin. In this dream of serenity, I am as one. And I am as all. I shall paint the path to liberation in serenity.
Well, see, and she has pink eyes in the middle and then blue eyes on the sides. Now there's 3 versions of her.
The rustle of the trees, the light filtering through, and the scent of the earth. These marvels scarcely seem like dream stuff. But they are the stuff
Now,
of a dream,
remember, there was a
which can
crystal
scarcely be distinguished from reality.
which
Serenity is a marvel.
Orisa tripped over in this story. But it seemed like there was no reason.
This isn't what I want. I know it isn't. You have received the friend who was taken. You have surpassed your abilities as you wished. Why do you mean to destroy all this? Why do you still fail to understand? Your hopes and your dreams are before you.
They're just gonna add a sentence or two before and after of these conversations that we've already seen.
The real Losaria. The real, cool, and charming Losaria. What's the point of even beating a fake Losaria? The hour of liberation will soon come, and all will be set free. Meaning is an illusion. Eris, I want to leave. Tell me how to get out. Why? Why must you cause yourself sorrow? Why can you not accept serenity?
See, and theoretically, all Eris had to do is just ignore them. Just not approach any of the leaders once they were trapped in the Morning Star and leave them there.
Almighty Nexus, is there no way to bring her peace?
Unless their goal absolutely required them to actually be at peace in the Morning Star, I think you could just have them be miserable and fight and try to escape the dreamscape and just fail miserably at it. It would have also been more interesting if in the dreamscape everybody was fighting everybody else. So, by the means of which I mean, like, Orisa saw that she was fighting a wolf, but she was actually fighting Luna. Luna saw that she was fighting a robber, but that she was actually fighting, like, Orisa. So everybody just is hallucinating a different thing, and then they could fight against each other, and you could drain off their magical energies as they fight each other. You could have like a whole secret tournament bracket
If you would only let the arms of serenity cradle you,
inside the
liberation would be yours.
dreamscape.
This isn't real. I told you, I need the real Losaria.
And see, in this case, Eris is winning.
Is coming apart. The chasm opens. If you proceed, nothing will greet you on the other side. Do you still insist on going?
So the dreamland falls apart by itself,
I won't give up no matter
apparently.
how tough things get.
But maybe it falls apart because you fought her.
In the real world, all by myself. Is that so? If you seek tears of despair, then they are yours to shed. Whether you dream in serenity or
by Eris showing up and confirming like Arissa's doubts that the dreamscape was real, you just helped her escape. If you just ignored her, she would have always had that small amount of doubt that she was just going crazy or that that wasn't the case.
It seems that another of me has found one more lost soul.
So I guess
go and guide her to peace.
It might be the case that she split herself into 7 different copies or 6 different copies and directly talked to each of the leaders nearly at the same time. And she's holding this book and she doesn't do anything with the book, I imagine. So 9 was called Envious Friend. This 10 is called Idle Devotion. So we're getting the English explanation of what the character flaw of each of the characters was. They created their despair. If I was gonna say Eris's character flaw, willful ignorance, stupidity, perhaps laziness, false faith.
This place isn't even a dream. It's not liberation that you're trying to bring. It's destruction.
I don't know what 7 deadly sin that would really fall in under.
The dream. You could await the hour of liberation in serenity.
But
and
yeah,
yet, you seek sorrow.
it's almost like a sloth.
Why do you resist when the
Laziness.
Almighty Nexus offers her succor to you?
Yeah.
Thank you for
Live in a
opening my
fantasy,
eyes.
live in a dream
I've
world.
never paid attention to the shadows eating at my soul, to the wicked deeds in my past. But I can't linger here any longer. I reject your twisted illusions and your liberation.
There is also a
I have to live up to
problem
myself.
in the balance of the leaders, because you have Orisa, and the names are too close, who literally was an assassin and murdered men, women, and children. And then you have the Dragspear character who killed his subordinate by accident because he was cursed to turn into a dragon, and may have killed a few other people, but we don't even know if that's the case. But then you also have like Orisa, who really has no real major personality flaw that would put her in the same category as an assassin who's murdered people. Or Luna, who maybe in her heart desired to murder people, but seemingly actually didn't murder anyone. And even the vampire doesn't seem like he's actually murdered anybody. At least not lately. So, oddly, the two of the hero characters that you'd think would just be actual heroes are the dirtiest of the characters we've seen.
May be looking for liberation. They may want to vanish or lose themselves in your illusions. But not me. There's still something I have to do. I have to see the princess.
No matter whether you meet your beloved, the future will not change. No matter whether you stay or leave, the hour of liberation.
And they do come out and just say that she's in love with the princess.
Resist for the princess.
And the princess does seem to be in love with her. But it seems like we won't actually get any actual story that around that.
I don't need to be forgiven by an illusion. Now let me out.
The world is coming apart again. A chasm of sorrow is opening.
And the real world is on the other side.
You will find no serenity there.
I have to go. For the princess and for myself. To carry out my duty and atone for my misdeeds.
Why? Why is she so determined to plunge into the depths of despair?
And you have a problem, because every time we've seen these scenes before,
And yet another
it's
dreamer resists the almighty
just
nexus.
made it seem like the
It would
fake
be better to
heiress
gather them all
was
into a
just
single
dumb and
place
didn't
and deal with
understand
them
human.
there. The ways of life are manifold. To think that
but
some would seek sorrow over serenity.
Perhaps the
They
idea
would only accept serenity.
is that they are
They would be able to wait the hour of liberation.
subconsciously teaching some lessons to Eris, and perhaps in that
What
case,
was that girl had wished for this dream world. She even asked for serenity.
so
She would only
perhaps
force us
this is the
to accept
redemption
the
arc,
dream. She could
that
wait
all
liberation
these 7
and
other
serenity.
leaders redeem
Why
Eris.
has this happened, Almighty One?
Again, not written well enough to pull that off. That would be a tough act to pull off, frankly. Be interesting, certainly. It would be almost like a Wizard of Oz element, in the idea that the Wizards of Oz movie had characters that the Scarecrow was missing a brain, and the Tin Man was missing a heart, and and the Cowardly Lion was missing courage. Each of those things probably were just allegories of teaching Dorothy that she needed to be smart, and she needed to be courageous, and she needed to have heart also. And even in the case of the Wizard of Oz movie, I would say that isn't amazingly well
Was I
pulled
dreaming?
off.
Were you fake?
It was merely your imagining, but it was detailed in the
It
extreme.
may have been done better
To
in the
you,
books.
It was doubtlessly almost reality.
I don't get it. What do you want me to do?
Liberation will soon be at hand. You need only wait.
All this really is telling
Can
us
I talk with Mother and Father?
is the exact order,
Can I?
the completely unimportant exact order
I want to talk
of
with Mother and Father like before.
how the
Like
events
just a
went
little bit
through.
ago.
That is why I bestowed upon you this dream with
Which
your parents.
it seems
A
to
dream
me
where your wishes come true.
the exact order is
She wishes to avenge her parents.
pretty
and thereby
much
live in peace with them again.
the same as
Perhaps that wish is
the order
tragic
that we've
and
played them
misguided.
through.
Perhaps it is simply wrong.
We haven't seen Isabella's
she
dream,
hoped
and we
wished
haven't
for.
seen Dragspear's
Her
dream yet.
should have come true.
So they seem to happen after this. And then almost certainly Urias's dream happens last.
So long as you are within this dream.
This also would be
your
the
mother and
point where we
father
would see
appear any number
Yuan's
of times.
show up if he was a character that was originally in the game. And it seems fairly obvious he wasn't.
Your real parents, however, seem unwilling to ascend. They are surely unable to.
And when we
tolerate
saw
the
this
sight of
cutscene
ruins.
before, it was flipped the other way.
Or perhaps as this dream brought you peace, your powers of necromancy grew weak, and your parents' souls escaped your reach. No matter what the reason may be, there is but one conclusion. There is no serenity for you in this world.
I still don't get it. But it doesn't seem like Mother and Father want to be here.
Why has this come to pass? I only
And
wish to bring
Luna's
serenity.
kind of a
I
bad
only wish to
character,
liberate them.
and the more I think about it, because
They can find no
I'd be
serenity,
fine with her
or they
story
reject.
starting with her
Why
being
must it
a
be
little
so?
kid who has her dead
What's
parents'
serenity even supposed
uh,
to mean?
souls
Just
guiding
want to
her.
talk with Mother and Father.
But you kind of need to jump forward a few years as
I
in
have
the
to go now.
story,
Mother and Father are hurting.
Very
because
well. But you must pass
you would
me,
want her to
the keeper of
have the
tree.
ability to
Once you do,
become an expert necromancer compared to all the other leaders,
she was searching for
where,
peace and should have been
like,
granted
Arissa has
serenity.
been training
Why then has she
in her
lived
forest
sorrow?
craft, and the royal guard of the princess obviously is going to be a trained fighter. Isabella is a trained alchemist. your eyes as a vampire is going to be a trained fighter, or at least a capable fighter. There's a lack of capability in the little girl who's just beginning to use her necromancy. And then you have to write her potentially as being so powerful that when she grows up, she'll outpower everybody else just so she's balanced now.
I have seen your determination.
And that time there was a damage hit on her, even though in this case,
Such compelling sadness in her eyes.
if we were playing the battles, she would have won the battles.
I had hoped that the hour of liberation would strike while you waited.
So you run into this problem where half the time you'll win a battle and the story will still go forward the same way it went anyways.
It's my fault Mother and Father are hurting. All of this happened because I told you to give them back. I remember now. When someone dies,
It's just nothing here.
that's it. They're gone.
And see, this is probably like the most
I can't talk with my mother and father anymore.
focused on story and the best written story
How can I
as
help
far
them?
as emotional
Should I die too?
impact,
My apologies.
and they just don't do anything.
That question is not for me to answer.
All right. Bye,
Her
Baba.
and Isabella's story.
I wish we could have stayed here. Me and
And see,
Mother and Father.
if you had,
I wanted to
instead of having us do
Luna.
8 variants of the exact same story, if it had just been a 30 mission linear experience where we jumped from one character to another, so there was just an A plot, a B plot, a C plot, a D plot, all of that.
My heart's desire was that they sleep in a gentle dream. and
Like,
be liberated.
that would have worked a lot better, because then you could have focused on Luna when it was natural to focus on Luna. You could have focused on Arisa when it was natural to focus on Arisa. And you could have pretty much ignored them as characters in the times when they weren't needed to actually be around or have anything to say.
One dreamer rejects serenity to seek a friend. One shuns serenity to face her misdeeds. And still another is held back from serenity by her tragic past.
And I'm barely even paying any attention at all.
And then there are the dreamers who were torn asunder in the aftermath of an atrocity. There is no serenity for them. The people's earthly ties are much greater than I thought. So great as to make serenity seem impossible.
Yeah. I'm not sure the human brain even could work in a true serenity situation. And that one was called Unnatural Desire, which I guess Luna did have an unnatural desire to murder the burglar over and over again. So this probably is going to be like a combination of both
I know.
Isabella's and
It's time for this dream to end.
Dragspear's events.
It seems that you two are unable to find serenity here.
You again. This was all your doing, wasn't it?
You were happy with any illusion or dream that would return your beloved to you, but fate would not leave you in peace.
Yeah, I could see a good story where
If we're inside the morning
Isabella
star now, then what's happening to the world out there?
was the main protagonist.
The world
She
is awaiting
finds
the hour of
Luna.
liberation.
She drags
When
Luna
it
all
arrives,
around the
the
world
almighty
looking
Nexus shall extinguish
looking
all
for
humankind.
her parents or someone who can
Extinguish?
take care of her.
That would set me free.
And then she manages
to
to
go.
bump into
I don't
all the
care
other
if I disappear,
characters.
But Rachel and Natalie, nothing's going to happen to them.
His accursed fate makes him turn away from serenity. Why have these foolish and pitiful dreamers slipped from the grasp of the almighty Nexus? They each have their own distinct desires.
All they really needed to do
Determination to forge and follow paths
is,
of their own.
for any reason,
Who am I
have
to say their
the main
determination is
protagonist in
foolish or
this suggestion, Isabella.
Oh?
just have her have the goal to reach the Morning Star, and then when she bumped into characters like Arissa or Erica, she could simply say, I'm traveling to the Morning Star, and they for I've been told that it might hold the answers to my problems, and it might have answers to your problems, and she might just convince a growing band of heroes to all travel to the Morning Star together. And then they could be all individually captured in their own dreams in the Morning Star section. But if they were traveling together as a band, then they could interact with each other a lot more than just fighting each other. Because you do have this problem of kind of like Vegeta and Goku, their entire relationships are completely based around fighting each other, and while they do have like a mutual respect for each other in the battle, it also leaves, if you were to try to describe Goku and Vegeta's relationship, it kind of does boil it down to they're rivals, and that's it. That they've never really sat down and ate a burger together or had a conversation, which gets really ridiculous when you think about, like, they're both like parents, if not grandparents, that their families interact quite a bit. So they're not really characters in a lot of ways. So that was desire and passion. But which one of them was desire and which one was passion? I guess maybe the drag spear was passion. Next we have gluttonous feast. So they even mention it, that he is gluttony. I'm just gonna look up a list here of what the 7 deadly sins are to think about which is the one I'm potentially missing. Let's see.
One such as he could hardly find serenity in a dream.
And almost certainly I'm gonna just get the Netflix anime
Though their power may outstrip
in a
his
Google
own.
search.
At last you appear. But how much can I expect from Nexus if she surrounds herself with minions like you?
I still have to really agree with him.
Last of the vampires? You seem to be hunting for something. But what?
One
See,
born so
pride,
fabulous you
greed,
could scarcely
wrath,
understand.
envy, lust,
I was
gluttony,
born
and
right,
sloth.
and all was simple for me. Too simple. That is why I sought.
So,
I sought for a reason to exist. I kept searching until I found it. In the heat of battle. Only
I'm
to
not
battle
sure
with the
who is
powerful
supposed to
do I
be
truly exist.
lust
To battle is to breathe.
and who's supposed to be envy.
And so it was for the others of your kind. Those prideful beasts consumed
And who's supposed to be
human beings.
greed.
Perhaps I too am prideful, but tell me, how is this different from you and your god?
And
Is pride not the privilege of
I
the
think
mighty?
Eris is supposed to be pride.
The almighty Nexus and I? For her, it is justified. The almighty Nexus is no...
Who demanded that you liberate this world? Who
See,
wished
you almost
for
have to
this
say
dream of
Luna is
serenity?
greed because she won't let go of her
Sorrow is
Um,
consuming the world.
of her
That
parents
much is
when they're
clear to
dead.
all who look.
Enough of your
And
preposterous
Isabella
talk. You already know that your beliefs are mistaken.
might be lust,
Has
I
my
would
faith been
imagine.
shaken? No. No.
And
I
then
wanted to liberate the
Erica
world,
would
to
be
free the people from
wrath.
despair and sorrow.
You should not have assumed that all the world was
It is
seeking
really-
the same liberation as you.
Really rough.
My life is
Relations,
not yours to
though.
define.
It's not.
I wished to liberate
It's
all
not
the
as
world.
obvious as it should
As
be.
such, the power of the almighty Nexus seemed indispensable.
And I suppose it is worth mentioning that the 7 deadly sins aren't actually mentioned in the Christian Bible. They were cardinal vices written in Catholicism papers, or later, after the fact. They're effectively doing the thing that the very end of the Revelations tells people not to do, which is don't add to the Bible, and they're effectively adding to the Bible, whereas the Christian Bible clearly says that all sins are equal. So having cardinal vices or 7 deadly sins does not make any sense at all. All sins are supposed to be deadly, in the sense that the wages of sin are death, which is an actual quote from the Bible.
You are stronger
so,
than I imagined.
Like the reason you'd have such a focus on those specific sins is so that they could better classify and sell indulgences, which is what the Catholic Church used to do, like pre-pardons or pre-forgiveness for sins that people are planning on doing, which again is not biblical.
I don't know anymore. Why have you done this to me?
Ha! To worry and flounder is the privilege of the weak. Make the most of it.
There is, however, one thing of which I'm still sure.
It could very well be the case too that they as a Japanese company and the localization and the localization team may have had no desire to include the concept of the 7 deadly sins at all. It seems like there was some idea that they were doing that, but like I certainly brought about that concept and have been rolling with that thought more than the story has been.
Stopped by no one. They fight for their families, for their parents, for their partners, or for themselves. Though their reasons may vary, they move on all the same. Who am I to call them foolish or pitiful? The ways of life are manifold indeed. Perhaps there is more than one kind of liberation. I must consider how to proceed.
So what happens now? I wouldn't be surprised if nothing happens now and we just get the to be continued image. Because there's now only this ultimate hubris, and this I believe is the last one, so we may get like 3 lines of dialogue. Eris shifts her into the dream temple to ruminate on true liberation. Another Eris appears to guide her. So Eris fighting Eris, apparently.
What better place to gather my thoughts? The almighty Nexus tried to fulfill the wishes of those 6 in a dream.
I want to save Losaria. The real Losaria. In the real world, all by myself.
Now we're getting flashbacks to flashbacks we've already seen.
But it was a dream they had no need for.
This place isn't even a dream. It's not liberation that you're trying to bring. It's destruction. I can't allow this.
The problem with calling Isabel's love lust, though, kind of falls apart. Because it wasn't as if she was actually lusting for Kyle, and Kyle didn't like her either. They seem to like each other, and Isabel doesn't seem like she's constantly lusting after other people.
I have been prideful. That much I cannot deny.
It would be weird if you said maybe Luna had like a bloodlust to kill, but that's not the lust that they're talking about in the 7 deadly sins.
But if not all can be liberated, then how must we proceed? I wished to liberate all, but it seems that is not meant to be. Some will be saved, while others are shunned. You have spent too long with the foolish ones. How tragic
And see,
it is
in the
that
background you
core of
can
your
see
being
this
has
is a
been
different
contaminated.
temple from the
I have
way
not
it was
been
animated
contaminated.
in the past.
I have come to realize
The symbol in the back
error
is of
my ways.
Nexus instead
To
of being a
liberate the
symbol
people,
that's
one
on the
must first
staff.
enter into a dialogue with them. One must offer them succor and understand them in all their variety. I attempted to grant them liberation without ever speaking or listening. I was prideful. The great majority of dreamers are at peace. Why would you rob them of their serenity? That is the true hubris.
So it does seem
You are
like
one of me, but you have
most
seen
of the
peculiar
people
things in abundance. You are now lost and confused. You have become little more than a common fool.
it does seem like
Lost
the
and
monsters
confused.
did just
What is
manage
wrong
to
with being
grab
lost and confused?
most of the
It has
people on the
changed me for the
planet
better.
and
There is
teleport
no
them
need to
into
be
the
lost or
dreamscape.
confused. Both you and the world shall be saved. But dreams of serenity from the almighty Nexus have only brought suffering, not serenity. And for some, the liberation that she would bring is no liberation at all. And what of it? Would you interrupt liberation for those pitiful 6? Utter ridiculousness.
So it's like 6 people in the entire planet
Including
escaped.
those 6. If that cannot be,
But see, notice
my
they're saying
hopes will
6.
no longer be with the almighty Nexus. You would harm the almighty Nexus? Interpret my words as you wish. They are the words of one who is lost and confused. They are your words, and I shall not reject them, for you are one of me. All other heiresses have returned to me, and so will you. I welcome your waywardness and confusion at my breast.
See, it's odd that they have
I
like
will
different
not return. I have
different
responsibilities
voices.
and objectives to fulfill.
Like it seems like 3 or 4 different voice
Then
actors
let us bring this to a conclusion.
voiced
Let us
heirs.
see who is the lost heiress
And
who is the
they're
right.
labeling her as the false heiress and her as just heiress, which honestly I'm not sure that's actually true.
This is ridiculous. I am the sum of all heiresses. How can I lose to but a single one? You have become blinded to the ends by our means and become the weaker of us. The arrival of the almighty Nexus was a means and not an end. The end was to liberate all. You are indeed prideful. How do you presume to liberate all the world? I imagined it would be possible, but I am no longer sure. No more
There's
fear.
really nothing to say.
I shall, however, still move on. This time, I shall save the world more authentically. Nexus is almighty. Her word is absolute. You are unable to surpass her. You cannot. No. Alone, I was unable to even reach the almighty Nexus. And that is why you are going to enlist the Dreamers.
We definitely needed more
If it is possible,
backstory.
Then yes.
And see, if this first chapter is supposed to be
Intend to leave
the
clueless
backstory,
to the feet of a god.
then
Very well. You are still me.
then there's
Resist
just
if
way
you can.
way too much story here. Because remember, there's another like 12 chapters
My pride has caused
in
them pain
chapter
and
2,
suffering. My wishes have harmed them.
at least.
I was mistaken. I lost sight of my objectives, and my means were the wrong ones. And I cannot atone for this error, even with my life. I must
So,
go. And I will
in
stop
an
the
hour and
almighty
10
Nexus
minutes, we're pretty
and
much
take all that is left within
all we
me.
were told is that part of her was the false heiress, part of her is the real heiress, or at least that's how they're going to be labeled, and she's going to, in the to be continued, try and collect everybody together and have them all fight together. Which it would be really nice if she kept them all together for all future stories, but looking at this, there is at least one other story here in the Guild War. What I'm actually confused about is, what was the prologue? Okay, the prologue, you play as Larissa, I guess, for 3 chapters. Which, okay. It does open a door that you might play as different characters in the different stories. You might not. Where does that leave us as we're trying to rush through these things? I need to get 3 matches of Havencraft, and I will do that when I'm playing off screen. Up to 2,000 gold. But that's kinda all we're up to. Is we've unlocked some very basic cards, and we've won some very basic things. Our temporary gems are still fairly low. I don't know why I would want to buy temporary cards with temporary gems. Anyways. Yeah, how does this really break down? Doing 1 chapter really doesn't give you even a single pack, which it feels like it should. It gives you enough gold, maybe, to buy a pack with rupees, which I guess rupees are probably better than tickets in the long run, because you can use rupees on any collection. Honestly, 4 years in, though, it feels like they should have considered just giving a ton more cards from the original set, the original expansion. So what did we get? We got Savoring Slash, which is deal 3 damage to enemy follower, Burial Rite, draw a card. We got Pure Shot Angel, which I think we already had 3 copies of this. This is one of the ones that is slightly different in its evolution, in the fact that you have like mid-length brown hair here, and then you have flowing blonde hair here. And I believe this was one of the cards that was censored that just had like a little V cut into the skirt. Yeah, there was probably half a dozen cards like that where they just took the V out, as if that implies a little bit lower of a hemline on the cards, on the pants of the characters in the cards. Let's see, we have Death Foul, Crystallize, Countdown 3, Last Words, Gain 4 Shadows. This obviously would only work as a necromancy card. We have Magical Augmentation, deal 1 damage to enemy follower. Earthright, deal 4 damage instead. Really feels like there should be a right of some sort for each hero class, and it doesn't seem like there really is. Here we have Tyrant of Mayhem. Draw a card. If Vengeance is not activated, deal 2 damage to your leader, otherwise deal 2 damage to the enemy leader. That's, I think, a new card. Fairly good. Here we have Pop Goes the Poppet, destroying an enemy follower, then destroy X damage to a random enemy follower. X equals the destroyed follower's attack. That's pretty good for 5. Next we have Deepwood Wolf. Accelerate, return 1 allied follower amulet to your hand and draw a card. Otherwise play it as a creature and give it Storm when you play this card. Using this Accelerate effect, when you play a card, not this card, a different card using its accelerate effect, evolve this follower. There is a problem with the way things are depicted in its description, in the fact that they just do dash dash dash, and then this is the effects when you play it, and this is the effects when you accelerate it. There should be a better visual way to represent that, but they don't have anything. And then we have Cloistered Sacristan. Crystallized countdown 4. Whenever you perform burial rites, subtract 1 from this amulet's countdown. Last words, summoned cloistered. Summon a cloistered sacristan. So if you play this for 2, it will take 4 turns to be summoned. Or if you play it for its 6 cost, it just is a 5/5 with ward. And then when it's evolved, if you have burial right, you randomly destroy 1 enemy followers with the highest attack in play and restore 3 defense to your leader. Yeah, there's very little difference here. He's got like zombies here, and then he's got a glowing staff and glowing eyes in the zombies, and that's pretty much all that's different. Where are we on the cards now? I'd like to check that, because this would be the point pretty much where we would be at as far as what you would have gotten when you first played the game to do all of the first chapters, because I'm assuming that the UN leader was added later. We now have 23 silver extras and 53 bronzes extras. And if we were to go here and look, we are now down to 141 pages, where before we were at 172 pages as far as cards. And there's about 1,700 cards from what I've heard in this game. So we are making fairly fast strides as far as having a decent collection. What is going on here? Why is it skipping like that? Like, I don't know why specifically this card, which is a basic card, is still being listed under the create a card section, but it is. Yeah. When clearly there are some cards that once you get 3 copies of them, they leave the field. So yeah, we're making decent strides, but it probably would take 6 months to 2 years before we had a really competent collection of cards. But it doesn't seem like for a game that's 4 years old that we're going to be just overwhelmed by this. Apparently I have 1 day left to buy crystals for $20.99. Buy 1,200 crystals and get 3 legendary card packs. I imagine there will be another offer that pops up. A lot of these free-to-play games put in like sales that just never go away, or first-time purchase sales that never go away, and they're just these constant ads that run forever. I did hear that there was kind of like these mini updates that happen where they add cards to expansions, and that would definitely explain how rotation here has kind of only given us a small collection of cards here. I mean, 4 years in, let's just look. classic card packs, which are always playable, are in this section. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 expansions, which for 4 years, if you divided 11 in half, that would be 10. If you divide it in half again, so it was a new expansion comes out every quarter, then that would be 5. So seems like it's probably close to every 3 months a new expansion comes out. And they're right now, I guess, about to rotate whenever the next expansion comes out. They're probably going to rotate Rebirth of Glory out at, but the mini expansions that seem to also happen do seem that they add cards, which then creates a different kind of drop rate. So there might be some high level manipulation of your odds that you would want to calculate too. But as a YouTuber who's trying to highlight all of these things, I unfortunately would just always be kind of required to open a bunch of packs on day one, and I imagine that that is the thing I'm saving up my gold for, whether I realize it or not. Still haven't gotten a crate. It seems like the crate is the only thing you get. You get like 1 crate for first beating the game, or the prologue section, and maybe, just maybe, I'll get another crate when I complete the entire first chapter. And then we haven't done anything with the anything at all with the these things, these solo play modes. Let's see how this works. So yeah, there's more. Yeah, you then have to just go in practice mode and choose somebody, and then you have to beat them under all of these other categories. So beginner, expert, experienced, expert 2, elite, classic, elite, classic through Baumet, and then elite 3 is the Walmart Wonderland through Brigade. So I wouldn't be surprised if they add a elite 4 strategy at some point. I may end up doing a lot of that off screen because there very well is probably no actual story there. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this recording. Yeah, it would have been really nice if Arissa's story explained a lot of things and revealed a lot of things and gave new meaning to all the other characters' story, but obviously that didn't happen. So the only thing that we could hope is that perhaps the new this character plays a role as he tells the story from a different perspective and makes it make a lot more sense. Let's see. This leader pack that they said new leaders are here are just skins though. It's not like they added those characters recently. That would be really weird. And I'm not really sure whose set I would want to buy. I'd want all 8 tickets, but I don't know who I'd pick otherwise. I probably don't. It doesn't matter. I probably should just pick somebody and buy it. But I'll think about that. Yeah. Because I don't even know. And this is a continuing problem, is that I have still yet to really figure out what leader and what card style I actually enjoy playing. So when trying to do the daily quest, I'm still very confused as to do I want to play Forestcraft, or do I want to play Runecraft, or do I want to play Havencraft, or Necrocraft, or what? I have no idea. It could be any and all of them. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.